What's up everybody, Arrg the Pirate here, and today we're going to be making a low-level deck for Feng Mao. Once again, this is a deck built for people with no cards. Pick up Centurion, a health potion, a mana potion, and the Scout's Ward. Alright, let's get into the meat of this deck. Now, if you are planning on jungling, you want to start out with the Magnus Siphon. I don't typically like playing Feng in the jungle, but I ended up kind of having to do that in this match that I'm about to show, so that Magnus Siphon would be a huge help. But if you're offlaning, the first card you want is the Lord's Ward. Now, I have 7 additional points in health with this card. The second card you want is the Whirling Wand. Now, I make my Whirling Wand as cheap as possible, so it's a 7-point card. That's followed up by an Adamant Edge, all power, another Adamant Edge, all power, a Tempered Plate with 3 points in health and 4 in armor, as well as a Tuned Barrier. Then I'll fully upgrade my Lord's Ward. I don't start out with it upgraded. Then lastly, pick up that Whirling Wand. That's 5 points in power and 2 points in kinetic. Now, how you build your Feng really depends on what role you're playing. If you're in the jungle, I would recommend going more power at the beginning to mid-game. You know, you really want to stay in that power range. But if you're off lane, you know, it's not gonna be a horrible thing if you go ahead and get more health and things like that in the beginning. So instead of just putting 3 points on Lord's Ward until that late game, you can put, 5 or 7 points into it. That will make your job just much easier. Alright, let's start out by going over Feng's abilities. Sweep is his basic attack, which is what I was doing there. It's, a very standard basic attack with a little bit of cleave. Conversion Shield is a shield that Feng can apply to himself that starts out at 125 shield and goes up to 425, and it lasts for 2.5 seconds. This shield is really used to, when you're engaging in a fight, go ahead and throw it out at the beginning, because typically people start out fights with everything they got. They don't, wait until halfway through the engagement to actually start hitting you with abilities. Feng's next ability is Reaping Dash. Now, Feng throws out an image of himself. When it collides with an enemy hero or reaches its max distance, he will teleport to that image. Now, the max distance increases from 700 all the way up to 925 at that max level. And the image deals 40, 80, 120, and 160, depending on the level, ability damage. To all minions it passes through, and to a single hero it hits. His next sweep attack within 4 seconds gains 35, 70, 105, or 140 extra damage. Now that is the big thing. So if you use Reaping Dash to engage on an enemy, you want to hit that enemy with your next sweep attack to get that, massive amount of bonus damage. Hamstring is an AoE ability that deals 75, 100, 165, and 210 ability damage, and applies a slow, which the slow ramps up from 160 all the way to 325 for 2 seconds. It is on a fairly long cooldown, so use Hamstring when you're actually trying to slow an enemy or want to get a little AoE damage. You really don't want to use Hamstring as an opener if the enemy's at full health, because if they are able to get away from you after you use that Hamstring, they're probably going to be able to escape before it comes off of cooldown. Feng's ultimate ability is called Earth Shatter. Now, Feng slams the ground, dealing 260, 350, and 440 ability damage to all enemies in front of him. and the range on this is pretty short, so you need to be fairly close to these enemies when you hit them. Now, Feng is a very strong offlaner. I prefer to see him in that offlane position over the jungle, just because he doesn't have the same jungle clear as most other junglers, just because the only real AoE damage that he has is on that such a long cooldown. With his ability to self-shield and this pretty decent escape that he has, he's really able to dish out a lot of damage and then get out. Now, in this beginning deck, since I don't have much sustain without that healer token, I'm playing very, skittish. I'm not going in, I'm not, poking at all. I'm really just kind of staying in the back, trying to get my farm. Once I hit level 5 and I'm able to push these enemies back a little bit, I'm going to go back to base, come back, and I'll really be able to engage with them then. Now, one thing I do here is, it's 5 minutes, I know gold buff is up, so I'm going to come over here, use my Reaping Dash, head up to the top. I'm able to pick up this gold buff. Now, I see that they're waiting down there for me. I'm not going to go back down there. They might not be able to kill me, but I would take a ton of extra damage for really no reason. So I back out, run through the Prime Pit, run through this back entrance or this back fog wall to that mid tower, and I'm able to come back here, and they're still really wondering, where did I go? Am I going to come up behind them? What's going on? And this allows me to really, get a couple of CXP farm, and it allows me to keep this lane just a little bit longer. Now, for newer players, the one thing I see almost everybody do is save this tier 1 tower. Now, this tier 1 tower is going to fall. You're in a lane, it's 2v1, this tower's going to fall. Do not die for this tower ever. Like right now, hey, it's about to go down, I'm just gonna leave. Like, I'm not gonna stick around and, I don't even want to take damage. That tower's gone, I'm gonna get out of here. I'm gonna wait till someone either shows up, or I would clear it up to where I don't have to worry about getting damage on this tower, and then I'll back. Now, I come back with 3 points, and I go ahead and pick up a Whirling Wand. I'd like to get a little more damage out, and I see that no one else is using wards. I haven't had any rotations yet, and I really want to get back into my lane to clear it up, so I just throw on that Whirling Wand right away. I still do have this, Scout's Ward, but it's really not the best option for me. Now, this Rampage did get out of position a little bit, and if you see, I'm able to use that hamstring, slow him down, and I really get a lot of damage on him. Now, FaZe is going to get away. Even if we're able to get some damage on her, there's no reason she wouldn't be able to get out of that. So I'm going to just head over to this, 5-stack, clean it up, and then I'll be able to get out. Now, after a few minutes, I end up telling Iggy, hey, you just take the off lane, I'll go attempt to jungle a little bit, and that's really exactly what I do. I head to this mid lane, and I'm able to clean up these 2 kills. Now, I am in that lower level of players since I am making this beginning guide, and I'm playing with one of my low-level subs at this point. So, people really aren't playing, just quite like they should. We don't have a jungler, and I was really hoping to get this off-lane Feng guide. But, right now in this mid-game, I'm kind of, really playing a lane-pushing jungler. It's a very strange situation, but this is something that you will see since, these are the same elo or, kind of skilled players that you will be with. And at that starting level, this is what you will see as Feng. And this is exactly why I included that Magnus Siphon, because, I wasn't planning on going jungle, but I ended up needing to go jungle at one point, and then actually our Iggy ended up disconnecting for a good 10 minutes of this game, so this was just a very strange game for us, and I decided to, hey, I'm gonna go jungle, and then ended up having to stay in lanes. Our Gideon's really doing a whole lot of jungling and not doing a whole lot in lane, so it's just kind of a very strange game. But we end up doing very well, and we end up actually getting the win on this, even with that DC and our just insane team comp. But Feng is a great frontline hero. With this self-heal, his ability to escape, his AoE, slow effect to where when he is in the middle of a group of enemies, he can slow everyone, not just, the people in front of him or the people in a small cone. He can slow everybody all the way around him, and it is a great ability for, really jumping into that team fight and just putting a whole lot of damage on people. Now, we're getting a lot of pressure on this off lane, and I'm going to head over here, wrap this up. We've got our lanes pushed pretty decently, and I know that, hey, they're all pretty low. I'm going to be able to do quite a bit of damage to everybody. I end up taking out their phase pretty quickly, and I get this Revenant. Now, I'm going to go ahead and use my Reaping Dash, catch up to Seraph, and end up getting that triple kill. She really should have backed. She shouldn't have stayed in and, let me get that kill, especially since she did use her escape, but she didn't actually escape with it. I was able to close the distance, fairly easily and pick up that triple kill. Now, here's a great example of that hamstring really affecting, this whole team from that circle. Now, I end up going in, or we all kind of end up going in. I wanted to get that Rev, but he ended up ulting somebody, so he was removed, but he was affected by that hamstring. And after that Gideon ult, since my hamstring was up, I was able to use it and keep everybody slowed so they still could not escape. And we end up picking up another triple kill right there. And, that's really just great frontline. If you see, I've got very little damage. I can utilize my shields. Of course, they were going after the weaker heroes in the beginning, but not only am I hard to kill, but I do a significant amount of damage. It's not as much as some of a fighter build, but I'm able to do enough damage to where I can wrap up kills, so they don't want to just ignore me, but if they focus me, I'm probably not going to die either. Now, here at 19 minutes or so, I go ahead, pick up this green buff, and they're putting a lot of pressure on our mid lane, and we've got Aurora there. Now, I'm thinking that, hey, we're going to get a good ult on her. I'm going to go in there, and we're just going to be able to just wrap up this whole team fight. And I end up heading in there. I get a pretty easy kill on Morgesh, and I turn around and Aurora's gone. I really should have left at that point, but I still have green, and I'm thinking, hey, maybe she'll come back and get this ult off, but she doesn't. It was probably a bad idea on my part to assume that my team is, really going to play to strengths and things like that. But after that Morgesh kill, I should have got out of there, and I could have very easily, especially with green buff on. But, I just thought something else was going to happen that didn't. Now, I end up jumping ahead here. I'm at 14, 6, and 5, so I've had a very decent game. We ended up losing that Iggy for a pretty good while, and he just recently came back, so we're finally making a little more progress. Now, I've got green buff, and I head over to this safe lane, and I'm going to get this inhib. We need to make some progress. The game's been very stagnant so far, and I might even be able to get this Grux kill, but I start just taking tons of damage, and then he gets that pull, and I'm just, there's nothing I can do at this point. Aurora ends up coming in and she gets an ultimate off. You know, Gideon kind of comes in. We've just got these very strange kind of slowly rotating plays that just haven't really allowed us to do near as well in objective play as I would like. But we do end up downing that inhib, and we've still got all of our tier 2s up, so we're doing well. Shortly after I spawn back in, I head to mid lane, kind of clean this lane up, get it pushing. Aurora's actually over at the off lane tower, or off lane inhib, and she's pushing it, and so we've got all of our waves pushing in on that enemy team. It's the perfect time to go for prime, and we end up having some decent rotation with our team, so we are able to secure this prime play, and we really kind of wrap the game up from here. Now I've kind of skipped ahead, just, you know, it was we down prime, we pushed this lane forward, just to kind of shorten the video up a little bit more. And I really want to talk about, you know, a few key points about Feng before, you know, I wrap this video up. Now, Feng is a great frontline hero. He can also play as more of a fighter, but I really like seeing him as that frontline with that self-shield and his ability to slow not only one person, but an entire, you know, team. I really like him as a frontline because you can, you know, really control the group. And with his ultimate having such a short range, you know, you're not going to get a whole lot of kills with it or, you know, do a whole lot of damage with it unless you're close to a bunch of enemies. So if you're in a stack of 2 or 3 enemies, you know, you can get that instead of just coming in and kind of being an assassin or, you know, that fighter build. I really like building him as tank, and if, you know, you want to get into Feng, I would highly recommend building this bruiser build for him. It's going to be just a huge help for you and, you know, getting familiar with this hero. Well, if you enjoyed this video, show me some love, think about subscribing, leave me a comment, tell me if you'd like to see other videos like this, and as always, I'll see y'all in the next video.